People, I hope you are all having a great time over the Christmas period. If you're lucky enough to be off, make the most of it. If you're working, man, you got to do what you got to do. I think with this video, this is one of several. I'm going to get a lot of recording in today and talk about other things. Hopefully, get a career review out before the end of the week, or well, the end of the week. It's Friday. It doesn't feel like that, but it is. But I want to talk and just do one last video on this Fury Usyk issue. It's not even Fury Usyk, just one last video on Tyson Fury and what he should do moving forward. Because the dust is well and truly settled, even though, again, over Christmas, time kind of goes out the window. Days kind of, they all feel like the same. It's not even been a week yet since we've actually had Fury versus Usyk 2. I know it seems like it, but it's not even been a week yet. And there's a lot of questions going into 2025 over what both guys are going to do next. And with Alexander Usyk, I've said it once, I'll say it again. I think he should bow out. I think he should go out on the top of his game. I think he should go out undefeated, former undisputed heavyweight champion, unified heavyweight, done it all. He's nothing left to prove. He's nothing left to do in the sport. He's done it all. You know, and it's a great legacy to leave. And it's a great FU to the boxing establishment. It really is. You know, going into this fight with Tyson Fury, you know, a lot of us were worried. A lot of us were worried about, you know, Alexander Usyk not getting favorable, but not getting fair treatment. We were a lot more worried about Fury getting favorable treatment, and it didn't go that way. Usyk was the rightful winner. I had it once upon second view, and I had it 116-112. Clear winner both times. It should have been two unanimous decisions. One split and one unanimous. It should have been unanimous both times. In fact, there should not be any split decision in Alexander Usyk's resume, because the Joshua rematch was not a split decision, but it was scored that way, unfortunately. Should have all been unanimous. With Tyson Fury now, the question is, what does he do next year? Does he retire, which many people are saying that they think he will do? Does he go and target a Joshua fight, which it's probably the most lucrative fight for him and for Anthony Joshua, mind you? Or does he try and rebuild? Does he try and become a three-time heavyweight champion of the world? Does he try and earn his way, or earn a crack at maybe a vacant title, or earn a crack at, say, a Dubois, or, you know, go that way? Does he try and, I'm going to say, redeem himself in the eyes of his fanboys? Will Fury could do the worst of the worst, and his fanboys, you know, birds of a feather flock together, they'll give him a pass. And that's just the way, I mean, you see some of the comments those fanboys leave about other fighters, and some of the things that they, you know, wish on Alexander. It's like, it's disgusting, you know, and those are the ones that get deleted and stuff like that. But yeah, that's the kind of guys who, you know, think the sun shines out of Fury's arse. So, you know, no matter what Fury does, they'll follow him. Well, you know, it's bizarre, but yeah, they will. But the general public who have followed Fury through the years, a lot of them are not best pleased with him. And it's been like that for the last couple of years. You saw the backlash he got in the negotiations for the Alexander Usyk fight in early 2023, when Fury kept moving the goalpost. A lot of fans were turned off by that. A lot of fans were turned off by the Francis Ngannou fight. A lot of fans were really turned off with his behaviour following the Alexander Usyk first fight, and the things he was saying about why Alexander Usyk got the decision. And again, he's not done himself any favours this time around. And a subscriber of mine left a very interesting comment on a video. I think it was one of the previews. I can't remember which one it was exactly, but the comment stuck with me. And he was spot on in what he said. He basically said that if Tyson Fury had retired like he said he would after the Dillian Whyte fight in Wembley Stadium 2 years ago, nearly 3 years ago now, he would have retired with his reputation pretty much still good, because the British fans still had a lot of respect for Fury. He was, you know, he hadn't dragged his name through the dirt and upset the British public and the public in general, the fight boxing fans in general, with his behaviour with the Alexander Usyk fight, you know, the post-fight, and, you know, kicking the can down the road. That rubbed a lot of people up the wrong way. The Chisora trilogy as well, that rubbed a lot of people up the wrong way. It was really after the Dillian Whyte fight where Fury's reputation went from here to there. You know, I know Hatman likes to use the Dark Knight quote where they were talking about Harvey Dent, or Harvey Dent was the one who actually used the quote in the movie. You either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. And that's exactly what Fury did. You know, he was, to many people, he was a hero prior to the Dylan White fight, and not long after. And then that's where we saw the problems come. And for me, the Tyson Fury situation, or the Tyson Fury story, it's bizarre, really. The change in character, the change in personality, and the change in just everything following on, really following on. I want to say really following on from was it the second or the first Wilder fight? I want to say maybe the first Wilder fight, really, because I spoke about it before in the video that Tyson Fury going into the Klitschko fight. I had to say, like, I was backing Tyson Fury back then. He was a lot more likable. He was a lot more of an everyman. I don't mean that in a bad way, but he was someone who you could relate to. He was not your stereotypical boxer in a sense of he could fight with the best of them, but he was jovial. He had banter. You'd see him around with the public all the time, with the Euros and stuff like that. His banter was a lot funnier back then. His trash talking was a lot better. The very infamous the Tony Bellew, David Price, do you remember that? And with Tyson Fury, as I said, he was a lot more. And the ironic thing is, it's crazy when you think about it. Back then, Tyson Fury was not particularly liked by most people. Most people back then really didn't like. I remember, really, a lot of people didn't like Tyson Fury. They thought he was arrogant. They thought he was annoying. They didn't think he was funny. And a lot of people were really on the Anthony Joshua bandwagon back then. I remember, I've never seen hype like it. Anthony Joshua's hype back then. And when he beat Klitschko, it was phenomenal because you really felt like you were coming out of the dark ages and into a renaissance of the heavyweight division. That's what you felt. And we did, really. We came out of the dark age and we came into a renaissance, and that was Tyson Fury who started that. But he never really got the credit for that win. And I know some people would say, Klitschko was near the end. Yeah, but at the end of the day, he still went into Dusseldorf in Germany and he did that. Now, he didn't get the credit, but Anthony Joshua, when he beat Charles Martin, I remember now I know a lot of these publications like, the Sport Bible and stuff like that, you don't really take them serious, but they were comparing what Anthony Joshua did to Muhammad Ali beating Sonny Liston, because I think it was both their 15th or 16th fight, and you're like, you can't compare Ali fighting Sonny Liston, who was the only heavyweight champion at the time, to Anthony Joshua going in there and beating Charles Martin. It's a stupid comparison. It's completely different. And you're acting like Tyson Fury beating Vladimir Klitschko in Dusseldorf in Germany is on par or not even as good as Anthony Joshua beating Charles Martin in the O2. That was what was going on at the time. And Fury ends up going on his hiatus, and we kind of all thought, like, well, even though I think he was in his late 20s at the time, you kind of thought to yourself, well, if he comes back, seeing how he was looking, in terms of the shape he was in, and hearing about the things, the alcohol and the other things, you thought he's never really going to come back and be what he once was. It took nearly 3 years before we saw him in the ring again, and he didn't look good against Sefer Seferi. It's fair to say he didn't look good. No one was expecting him to look good against Sefer Seferi. I know Sefer Seferi was very limited, but coming back from all that and still not looking aesthetically particularly good in terms of the shape he was in, no one was expecting much. And I remember when he fought Pianetta up in Windsor Park, and I remember Frank Warren people were like, oh, Frank Warren is selling it as something special, he's fighting a former world title challenger. Well, that's what Eddie Hearn has done with people like Alan Babbage to Johnny Fisher. So, that's what promoters do. You challenge for a world title, as obscure as you may be, promoter's going to use that as a selling point. So, they will do that. So, you left Fury away with that. And he goes in with Deontay Wilder in December the 1st, 2018. I remember very well. And in my opinion, he beat Deontay Wilder. That's a decision Fury can feel more aggrieved with. That genuinely is a decision he can feel more aggrieved with. I know he didn't lose it. It was a draw. But I felt he did enough to win. A lot of other people felt like he did enough to win. Yes, the knockdowns did make the fight closer. Fury won more rounds, but the knockdowns definitely helped Deontay Wilder. But at the end of the day, when it was announced as a draw, everyone, people at ringside were like, Tyson Fury won. Do you know how bad it was? The Wilder fanboys, and bear in mind, this was a draw. So that kind of implies that it could have went either way. The Fury fanboys looking to say, well, no, it's a split decision. No, that was a draw. So that implies it could have went either way. The Wilder fanboys at the time, they never even complained about the draw. They never even tried to make a case that Deontay Wilder could have took this fight on the scorecards or was hard done by and jobbed on the scorecards. All they could make a case for was that he was down Tyson Fury longer than 10 seconds, even though it's not a 10-second count. That's all they could really use. Because I think anyone who watched that fight could see Tyson Fury won it. And look at how he behaved in the immediate aftermath of that. It's stark contrast to how he's behaved in both Alexander Usyk fights. In fights in which he has lost, clearly. Tyson Fury was dignified. And it wasn't a defeat, but it may as well have been. And Tyson Fury got a lot of praise, rightfully so, to come back after only 6 months being back in the ring and do that. I know Wilder's very limited, but still, nevertheless, it's an achievement in of itself. And if he'd have won that fight, he would have gone. He did go up to the stratosphere, but he would have went, beyond that. And it's really after the Wilder fight. And again, he handled himself with a lot of dignity. There was no cursing. There was none of this. There was no, he did. There was none of that. And then after that point is when it all went south. Then he went with ESPN. Dylan White, they were talking about doing that fight. I'll fight if he put the diamond belt on the line. They didn't fight him. Fights Tom Schwartz. Frank Warren was for the lineal title and he's ranked highly by the WBO. When they said that about Frank Sanchez years later, what brand of crack are you smoking? He didn't use those words, but that's basically how he did it. So fine to do it with Tom Schwartz, not fine for Frank Sanchez. Interest in that. Fights out of LA and then we get the Wilder fight. It's really strange the way he went from a fight in which he should have won, the first Wilder fight, and behaved with such dignity, to a couple of years later loses to Alexander Usyk in a fight in which he's nearly knocked out. And he got it because of the war in his country. Loses again. Clear as day. No, I got it, I won. It's this, it's that. You can't get a decision, user all this. It's crazy, isn't it? The change in maybe it's always been there, but it's like the saying, you either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. And I think with Tyson Fury, that's been it. At one point, he was that. A lot of people would see him as a hero, and he went from that to that. It's crazy. What can he do next year to redeem himself if he decides to carry on? Well, I don't think the public, and I don't think he could get away with it either, I don't think the public would accept Tyson Fury going down the road of fighting Ngannou again, or those, little nothing fights, a Chisora Ford fight. I don't think the public would accept him, and he's not got a title to be able to use to sell those fights. He can't even go and claim he's lineal anymore. He can't do that. So I think those fights are off the table. I think he's only got two options. Joshua fight, maybe do a rematch, have a 2-fight deal, do a rematch and see what you do. You'll make a lot of money, and say you win both, you actually put yourself maybe in contention to maybe go and look and pick up a vacant title, who knows. Or you do what I think would be the more dignified approach, would be to act, because I think Fury still has enough left. Those two Usyk fights, although he lost them clearly, still gave a good account of himself. Did better than Joshua did, arguably. So, there's still something there. So what's wrong with going and maybe fighting a Adja Kabayel, or a winner of Kabayel versus Zhang? What's wrong with fighting a contemporary? And if you win, that's great. And you put yourself in a position. And I think that going and doing that, fighting a contemporary, one, it will help your legacy, because if you get a win over someone like Azile Zhang and Adja Kabayel, it helps your resume, which apart from Wilder and apart from Klitschko and how good was Deontay Wilder, it's quite thin on the ground. People saying like, oh, Chisora is a great win. Chisora had how many losses? 11, 12 losses that time? Crazy. And this is Tyson Fury who was saying that actually Chisora, and again the gaslighting from Tyson Fury, when Chisora fought Usyk, he was making a claim that, Chisora lost all his last few fights. Going off the back of a win. 2 wins. 3 wins, actually. So, there you go. Tyson Fury 2025, could it be the year he redeems himself? Or could it be the year that he bows out? Quite frankly, if he bows out, I won't be missing him, quite frankly. But it'd be interesting to see if he will go, take stock and look to come back. Judging by how the people in his team behaved, in the post-fight, oh, you won. Ben Davison had the look of someone who was like, you know what, I'm going to tell him what he wants to hear. That's how it looked. So I can't envision he'll go and do that, but hey, stranger things have happened. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed the video, people. A bit of a long one. Took me a while to record this as well. Lots of interruptions. But I hope you enjoyed it. Smash the like button. Hit subscribe. Peace.